Can you believe your own mother would decide your pregnancy is an inconvenience, a threat to your sister's wedding limelight? She secretly tried to put my newborn baby up for adoption behind my back, and the aftermath was an absolute nightmare you won't believe. So, my sister's wedding is later this year, and my son? He's barely 3 weeks old right now. Everyone else was thrilled, over the moon about the baby. Everyone, that is, except my mom. And honestly, I wasn't even surprised. To her, there's nobody more important than her darling baby, and that happens to be my little sister. See, I got pregnant a while back. And when I was about 6 months along, my sister got engaged. Now, anyone with basic math skills knows that by the time her wedding rolled around, my baby would already be here. It's not like my sister wanted a small, quick wedding either. Oh no, she wanted this grand, elaborate affair that would obviously take months to plan. My mom started hounding me, saying I needed to do something about my pregnancy. She didn't want me to upset my sister. My sister and I were not close, like at all. She's always been this incredibly spoiled brat. After my dad passed away a couple of years ago, we basically had no contact. The only reason I even tried to stay in touch with my mom was because I'd promised my dad on his deathbed that I'd look after her. He knew my sister wasn't responsible enough for that. And even though my sister was always mom's favorite, I truly tried to keep that relationship alive. Then, Mom showed up at my house. She announced my sister was engaged. I actually thought for a second that she was just there to share some good news, you know? But then she started in on me. She said that because I was having a baby the same year as the wedding, I would take away her limelight. Her exact words. Because, apparently, a pregnancy is a bigger milestone than a wedding. I couldn't even grasp it. I told her she was being paranoid. Mom, I said, it's not like people are going to skip her wedding because I had a baby. Besides, I'm not even invited to her wedding since she wasn't invited to mine. We're not friends. There was no way I could overshadow her. I wouldn't even be there. And I'm not some celebrity, so who would even be talking about me or my baby at her wedding? I thought these were all pretty valid points. But Mom just looked at me, dead serious, and told me I needed to hide my pregnancy and my baby from everyone in the family and all our common friends. She absolutely did not want me stealing my sister's thunder. I thought she had officially lost it. We had a huge screaming fight after that, and I stopped talking to her. I felt terrible, like I was breaking my promise to Dad. But what else could I do? She was acting completely insane, and I was pregnant and already irritable. I just couldn't deal with her idiotic demands. So, she hasn't been there for anything since. It's just been me, my amazing husband, and his family taking care of our baby. My mom wasn't even there for the birth. My husband called her that day, but she refused to show up, claiming she was out with my sister. Honestly, I'm pretty sure she wouldn't have shown up anyway. I'm just not a priority for her. If she could abandon her own daughter, our entire relationship, just because she thought I was stealing the limelight by having a baby, then there was nothing more to say. So, we had absolutely no contact, and I was surprisingly okay with it. But then, a few days ago, my phone rang. It was her. I didn't answer at first, but then she started texting me, frantic, saying I had to pick up, that something very important had happened. It was clear she had bad news. I really didn't want to talk to her. But that promise to Dad, it kept nagging at me. So I answered. And thank God I did. Because that's how I found out my mother was in legal trouble.
Why?
Because she tried to put my baby up for adoption without our consent. And the adoption agency found out. It was a case of outright fraud and misrepresentation. Apparently, she'd contacted an agency, falsely claiming she had power of attorney, saying both my husband and I were addicts and had been deemed unfit to care for our baby by the court. She said she was the custodial caretaker and was putting him up for adoption. But obviously, they quickly discovered all her legal documents were fake. They immediately stopped the process. Now they were taking legal action against her. She was calling me, terrified, begging for my help. She said she was about to be served papers and she wanted to tell me before the agency did. She was crying, pleading, but all I could hear was the sheer audacity of it. How could she expect my help after doing something so utterly horrific? I understood she wanted my sister to have the limelight, but to go out of her way to try and steal my child? That was beyond disgusting. And, frankly, pretty stupid because now this was going to bring a lot more attention to me. And Mom. After she finished her story, I just hung up. I had nothing left to say. I didn't feel bad for her. Not one bit. In fact, I thought she deserved this, and worse. Later that day, the adoption agency contacted me, just as she'd said. My husband and I talked, and we decided we were going to pursue legal action against her too. There was no way she was getting away with this. We spoke to a lawyer, and within days, we'd filed a civil lawsuit. The proceedings are about to start, but given the severity of her actions, criminal charges have been filed against her as well. There's little to no room for mediation. The best she can hope for is an out-of-court settlement or maybe a plea bargain for the criminal charges, but even then, she's likely facing jail time. She's under house arrest right now, but she can still contact me, and oh boy, she's been sending me email after email, begging for help. She's apologizing, saying she got carried away because she was so upset about my decision not to hide my baby for my sister's sake. She knows it was messed up. She says she's sorry. I'd been ignoring her, but then yesterday, she hit me where it truly hurt. She reminded me of the promise I made to my father, that no matter what, I would always take care of her. And she said, "This doesn't seem like taking care of me." That stopped me cold. That conversation with my dad, on his deathbed, was private. I didn't even know she knew about that promise. So now, here I was suing my own mother for trying to put my baby up for adoption. Update 1 asterisk. I've made my decision. I am absolutely not dropping the civil lawsuit. She deserves this. She brought this entire mess down on herself, and I am not backing down. Not because of that promise. I took that promise to my father seriously for years after he passed. I tried my best to live up to it. But this is emotional manipulation, pure and simple, and it's at its finest. It almost worked, using my father's memory against me. That's just low. A lot of people have criticized me for even bothering with the promise for so long when it was clear my mother cared less about me. But if you've ever lost a parent, you know how heavy that is. I lost my father to cancer. This was literally a promise I made to him on his deathbed. I don't know about anyone else, but I can't take that lightly. And that's why I put up with my mother for so long. But this is beyond a line. Now that my mind's made up, nothing can make me back down. Even my husband thinks I've made the right call. I'm not even asking for a ton of money. I just want her to pay back what I've spent on her over the past couple of years. I've been taking care of her because my sister wouldn't spend a single dollar. And to be fair, my sister doesn't spend money on anyone but herself, so it's not surprising. That's probably why Dad asked me to be there for Mom. But I don't think even he could have imagined something like this. I'm sure he'll forgive me, and even if he doesn't, I still have to do this for my own sanity. She has the money, I know for a fact. Dad left her the house, and a substantial sum of money. She'll be fine. And her brother will take care of her, too. Even if she loses everything because of this lawsuit, it's not my concern anymore. I've tried my best. It's never been enough. I don't think anything ever will be. I'm done trying to be a good daughter. I'm a mother now, and that's my only priority. Update 2 asterisk. It's been a few weeks. We're currently in the mediation process for the civil lawsuit because everyone wants to settle out of court. But it's not going well. We've had to terminate every single session because my mother gets too emotional, starts screaming, and just loses it. I don't know if it's a strategy or if she's genuinely cracking, but either way, it's just delaying the inevitable. And I don't think she realizes there's no way out for her. My uncle reached out, trying to convince me to back off. He told me the amount I'm demanding as a settlement is way too huge and unfair. He brought up how she raised me, how ungrateful I am for not forgiving her for one stupid little mistake. But that's the thing, it wasn't a stupid little mistake. She literally forged documents. This wasn't some heat-of-the-moment thing. It was premeditated. That's the scary part. If the adoption agency hadn't done its due diligence, she might have gotten away with it. The more I think about it, the less forgiving I feel. No amount of money will ever make up for what she did. And I'm being kind, only demanding what I've spent on her, not a dollar more. He wouldn't know that from the paperwork, but even when I told him, he still thought it was extremely unfair. I got agitated. I didn't want to fight with him. My uncle and I have always had a good relationship, but he seemed intent on ruining it. So I started fighting back. I told him if he cared so much about his sister, maybe he should bail her out, offer to bear the cost of the settlement himself. Then we could be done with this. That's when he started yelling, calling me all sorts of names. I hung up. There was no point. How can anyone defend her right now, given the circumstances? On one hand, I had my uncle. On the other, my sister. She's been insufferable ever since she found out about the lawsuit. I don't know why, but she's decided I'm the villain, claiming I'm doing this all to get back at her and Mom for not paying me enough attention. At least my uncle had the guts to speak to me directly. She's been talking behind my back to everyone we know, and that's how the entire family found out about the lawsuit. I didn't want this to happen. I didn't want to answer deeply personal, disturbing questions. But she's been running her mouth, so now everyone's reaching out. I'm having to answer questions I don't want to. I'm just consoling myself by thinking it was bound to come out eventually, better now than later. But the bigger problem is the narrative my sister's spinning, that I'm being vindictive. She doesn't understand the gravity of what Mom tried to do. This isn't some sibling rivalry playing out in court. How can someone be so stupid and self-involved? But then again, it's my sister, so it's not surprising. She's my mother's true daughter, after all. Anyway, I've been speaking to the rest of my family. And it's kind of ironic, really. This whole thing started because my mother wanted my sister's wedding to be the event of the year. She wanted me to hide my pregnancy and baby for that. But now, because of Mom's own actions, this is going to be the family highlight for a long, long time. Not just this year. I hate to admit it, but it's pretty scandalous from a gossip perspective. If I wasn't directly involved, I'd probably find it juicy too. It sounds trashy to say, but it's poetic justice for my sister, really. Now, not even her wedding can top something like this. Update 3 asterisk. Okay, so my mother has actually agreed to our terms. We'll be receiving our settlement money soon. But separate from that, she's still on trial for her criminal charges. She and her lawyer are doing their best to keep her out of jail, but from what I know, it's looking bleak. I've already been asked to testify by the prosecution, and so have people from the adoption agency. So, we'll see how that goes. Even my sister and a couple of other close family members have been contacted. It's been a couple of weeks since the last update, and things have been surprisingly good for our little family. We even managed to sneak in a short weekend trip with our son to see his great-grandparents. Not mine, they're gone, but my husband's grandparents are thankfully still around. When we talked to them about everything that was going on, they told me I was doing the right thing, stepping up for my child. I even shared the guilt I was feeling about breaking my promise to my father. But they told me I had nothing to feel bad about. They said if my father were here, he probably would have told me to go for it, because this whole situation was just insane. That made me feel considerably better. I guess I really needed that change of scenery because when I came back, I felt refreshed. It had been such a distressing experience. Even though Mom and I had our differences, it had never gone to these levels. In the last couple of mediation sessions, she must have realized that screaming and terminating our sessions wasn't going to make anything better. It would just end up in court, which would be even worse for her. So, probably on her lawyer's advice, she decided to behave herself and let her lawyer do all the talking. She barely even looked at me. And when she did, it was a quick glance, like she couldn't bring herself to actually see me. And I think that's good. She doesn't deserve to feel like she has the right to even see me anymore. My uncle and my sister are still actively spreading hate against me in the family, but honestly, that barely matters to me. Anyone who wants to be on my side will be. And the gossipers? They'll just stick to the sidelines, not actively getting involved. They pose no threat. As long as that's happening, I'm fine with whatever they're saying about me. I'm secure enough to know that it won't become the truth just because they're saying it. Update 4 asterisk. It's been a little over a month since my last update. Mom agreed to my terms, and a couple of weeks ago, our settlement money finally came through. We're setting it aside for our son's future. We don't need that money right now, but we're happy to have it because, well, it's what she owed me for all the years I spent taking care of her after Dad passed. My sister knows this. But despite that, she showed up the other day and started accusing me of ruining her wedding. Apparently, our mother had promised to pay for part of the wedding, and now that I'd sued her and taken back all the money she had, Mom couldn't live up to that. And it was all my fault. It was crazy, because even while she was yelling at me, she mentioned that I'd taken back all the money she had taken back, which clearly meant it was originally mine. So she was aware of the situation, yet she still thought it was appropriate to yell at me instead of questioning why any of this was happening at all. When she showed up, I hadn't even let her in. I was talking to her at the door. The second she started yelling, I slammed the door shut.
I really did not need this.
I'm already busy with work. I'm technically on maternity leave, but I'm trying to work from home so I'm not overwhelmed when I go back. And on top of that, I have to look after my son. I don't have time for this drama. But even with the door slammed, she didn't take the hint. She stood outside, screaming about how unfair everything was for her. After a while, when she still wouldn't leave, I got annoyed. I called the cops. Within minutes, they showed up. And while they were dragging her away, she started cursing at me so loudly that even the neighbors who'd been peeking from behind their curtains actually came out to watch. It was extremely embarrassing. While she was cursing, she also said a bunch of concerning, threatening things about me and my child. I won't repeat them, but they weren't just angry words. I'd already called my husband as soon as I called the cops, so he came home earlier than usual. I told him everything my sister had been saying. One of the officers even suggested we file a restraining order because clearly something was very wrong with her. And we do think it's a good idea. I don't feel safe anymore. She knows where I live. She knows every way to contact me, and if she decided to make me uncomfortable, she could easily succeed. I'm not saying she'll do what she threatened, but there are other ways to intimidate someone. And I'm scared because I'm a mother now, and I can't have episodes like this repeating. So, after a really long discussion with my husband, we decided we're moving. I'd already planned to change my phone number and other contact info anyway, because I've been getting so many messages and calls from people who only want gossip. It's truly annoying. So that was another reason to make a clean break. The last thing I need is visitors who only want to talk about this situation and spread rumors. My husband is doing well, and if we need to, my in-laws are amazing and can help. But we are definitely moving, and we are definitely filing that restraining order against my sister. She's unhinged, and I don't want her coming around anymore. Everything's been expensive lately, the lawyer, a newborn baby. Finances have been a bit tight. And with the move, it'll get even more expensive. But when I think about my son, it's worth every single penny and every ounce of trouble. I'm just so tired of everything. But my husband and my son, they're the only people who keep me going, keep me motivated. I don't think I say it enough, but I'm truly happy and lucky to have such an understanding partner. And I'm incredibly lucky that his family has stood by me through all this. To be frank, after my dad passed, my in-laws were there for me more than my own mother ever was. I know not everyone is lucky enough to have such wonderful in-laws, so I'm incredibly thankful for them. It's been a messy, exhausting few months, and I'm just really hoping it comes to an end soon. Final update asterisk. Hey. So last week, the verdict of my mother's trial finally came through. She's been convicted on all charges. Since she's a first-time offender, she'll have to pay a huge fine as restitution to both the adoption agency and me, along with several hours of community service. She managed to dodge incarceration, but she does have to attend court-mandated mental health treatment in a rehabilitation facility. Her lawyer successfully argued she was going through psychological stuff. I'm not in touch with her anymore, and I haven't been since she agreed to the terms of our civil lawsuit. I found out about the verdict from a couple of family members, and honestly, I guess it's fair enough. I also managed to get a restraining order against my sister soon after my last update, so that's another win for me. We're currently in the process of moving houses. It's a bit stressful, but we can handle it. And especially with the money that's about to come in, it's been a huge relief. We might not even need to ask our in-laws for help, and we won't need to dip into the settlement money we had decided to put aside for our son. So, it's all worked out in our favor. And even though my mother got lucky legally, she hasn't been so lucky in her personal life. I've been hearing a lot of gossip, and I've even been sent screenshots of my sister's recent social media posts. She has publicly denounced anything her mother has done, going as far as to claim she had no knowledge of any of this until recently and that she doesn't agree with Mom's behavior at all, even thinks she deserves to be convicted. Which is definitely not what she was saying to me before everything went wrong. Before that, she was strongly on her mother's side. From what I know, she did this because her fiancé and his family weren't comfortable with the idea of him marrying into a family like this. Which, honestly, is quite understandable. They were apparently considering postponing the wedding, which is why my sister decided to cut off our mother in such a public way. It sucks for my mom because her entire life, she dedicated herself to my sister, and now this is what she gets. It's pretty sad, but also, well-deserved. I don't feel bad for her at all. Now that I'm moving, I'm going to have nothing to do with these people, and I really, truly can't wait. What would you have done in my place? Have you ever faced such blatant betrayal from family? Tell me what you think in the comments. I really want to know.